Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is filtering at the browser. This is uh, this is rather surprising to me how little information there is about this step. Um, in order for this to work, and this isn't going to work with your tech savvy teenager potentially. Um, there's going to be as the kids get older, there's ways around all this stuff. Um, but when your children are younger, um, this there's ways to lock this down as well, even if you have teenagers. So I'm just going to kind of walk through this. In my house, I try to force everybody to use the same browser, and it's because Google actually offers a really good filter for browsing. And so, like I was previously showing you, I only have one browser that I sort of point or funnel the kids through. And that's because Google actually offers this a feature called Safe Search, but you have to switch it on. Um, and if you just go to Google and type in Safe Search, this thing's going to come up, and you click on it, search settings, um, and settings for the browser. I'm logged in as myself. I believe even if you're not logged in or have an account, you can still click this thing on. Obviously, if you use Google and have several accounts, Gmail, and so on, this will start saving this feature everywhere, whether you're on a phone or an iPad or wherever you use Google, and Google Chrome specifically, this browser, Google Chrome. Uh, the safe search will follow you. Um, I personally would go to every device and flip this thing on and lock it. And so what that means is if yours wasn't on, if this turn on save search wasn't on, you can click it on. But obviously somebody could come back and unclick it. They just have to Google like I just did, go here and click it on. But you can actually lock it too. So if you have an account, you can log into it, and then you can lock it, and then no one can change the fact that safe search is on. Now, this seems like a very simplistic thing, right? Um, and it is. That this is all you have to do to basically stop most of the stuff that if I don't know if any of you have ever wondered and sat down at your network and just, for instance, type the word porn in Google. Without this setting on, you will get um, a full load of results of porn in your browser. I mean, the worst, uh, you know, imaginable you can from that. You click this thing on, and it pretty much gets rid of everything. It really is. It really is a no-brainer for a family to use this. Now I've switched this on. Go to if you. I personally don't let my kids get on a web browser on their iPads. The only time they're allowed to use a web browser is on the computer that's in a public place right next to my wife's computer. Not that they can't be doing something wrong in there, but again, I've got so many filters on that thing coming from the DNS and the router that the the computer itself, combined with this filter, is nothing gets through anymore. In fact, we have the opposite issue at times where it's filtering too much. And unless you tweak the DNS settings and the router settings and some of the things we've talked about, you're going to also experience this thing where a bunch of sites you might use are blocked. Um, so this is sort of the next step in my mind of blocking everything. Uh, but obviously, if you're a Windows person and you use Internet Explorer, they might have something like this. I haven't done that much research into it. I don't know if it works that well. What I can tell you is if you still use something like, if your search engine's Bing and you use Bing and Internet Explorer, believe it or not, all of these search engines in combination with something like Internet Explorer offer the same thing. So there is a search, um, Bing, safe search. You can actually turn this on for Bing, for Yahoo, for Google. Just Google it. Make sure this is turned on everywhere. Pretty simple thing. Go on to your iPads if you let your kids have a web browser. Go on to their phones. Go on everywhere you let your kid have a web browser. And if for my kid, I have Google accounts for all of them, and they don't exactly know the password, so I can literally log into their Google accounts or my Google account, lock it, and then log out, and it's locked everywhere they would use a browser. So hopefully this makes sense. Obviously, you can Google a little bit more, but definitely do this. It's one checkbox, and it will basically filter out 100% of the awful stuff out there.